growing up here in Hollywood as a child actor, I'll never forget the times at Falcon's Dancing School on Western Avenue, where I used to go thence, take dancing lessons and singing and all that. It was so much fun. And I used to, there was a club around on Western Avenue, a blues club. I can't remember the name of it, but I used to get my ear in there and I used to hear these singers rehearse, blues singers and jazz singers. And, that's the first time I ever heard blues, when I was like 9 years old. And boy, did I love it. It always stuck with me. That's my favorite. Blues, rhythm, jazz. And today I am sitting here with a great lady of jazz and rhythm and blues. And Hadda Brooks, how are you?
I'm fine, Skippy. How are you?
Those days in Hollywood. You grew up here, too, in
Yes,
LA.
I did.
Oh, those were the days.
Oh,
Tell
no.
me about Los Angeles in those days.
Well, every time I'd leave town, come back, it would change. Another building would go up.
Uh-huh.
And I've seen it grow.
You have?
I've seen it grow.
You were Hadda Brooks. Went to school where, first of all?
First, the elementary school was Malabar.
Uh-huh.
Lived right next door.
Uh-huh.
Couldn't afford to be late.
Uh-huh.
Then I was supposed to go to Roosevelt High, but I had a special permission to go to Polytechnic for its musical curricula.
Uh-huh.
And then I went to... I don't
Never knew, but
remember.
Hadda Brooks, but you never knew you wanted to get into show business at that time.
No, I didn't
you?
have a clue.
Didn't know.
I didn't have a clue.
What was Hadda Brooks aiming for at that time?
I don't really know.
Really?
I didn't really know. I hadn't any possible idea that I was going to end up in show business, or using the education that I got, my father gave me in music, to use it to what use has been put to today.
Right. You were playing piano for dancers, tap dancers.
That's
and,
right.
Recitals and all that?
Well, I was playing for one school.
Rehearsals?
Covan School. No, not rehearsals.
Okay.
Just it's almost an everyday thing, but Sunday.
Uh-huh.
For children, small children, and some adults, and some movie stars.
Uh-huh.
And this man who taught the dancing taught all the big dancers.
Uh-huh.
In fact, they had a dance convention.
Uh-huh.
And each one of them gave a routine. And
Right.
this man's name was Willie Covan, and every step that he did wasn't tap. It was tap, and to a certain extent you could hear his movements. But you could also see at everything that he did was a picture. And he's always told me, he said, if you stand still, the audience can talk, go to sleep and wake up and they'll still see you there. But if you move around, they think they might have missed something, and they'll keep looking at you.
Hadda Brooks, you look wonderful.
I feel fine.
You're keeping yourself busy.
Yes.
But after this rehearsals and recitals and stuff like that you've been doing, what happened? How did you get into business as a singer, pianist?
Well, as a pianist, I mean, I was trying to get some different rhythms from the poet and peasant for this dance director.
Okay.
And I was trying. I got the rumba, and I got rhythm, and I got a waltz, and then I was trying for a boogie. And someone was standing behind me at this music company downtown while I was trying to pick out the boogie and keep it within the classical vein.
Right.
And they asked me, could I play a boogie? And I said, I don't know. He says, well, I'll give you a week, he says, to work one up. I've got $800, and we'll record it. If something comes of it, we're in business. If nothing comes of it, I've lost $800.
What was that boogie woogie song?
It's swinging the boogie.
Swinging the Boogie? That's the first recording?
That's the first recording.
And that's the first time it came out. It became a big hit.
It became a big hit. My sister took it to San Francisco, a box, and she took it to Sherman and Clay, which played nothing and had nothing in their store but classical records. And they bought it.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Boogie Woogie wasn't around those days, was it?
Well, no, it hadn't been, it didn't come forth as much as I think it should have, but then I wasn't very much familiar with it. But I mean, there were some great boogie woogies, piano players.
Right.
I mean, you know, like Albert Ammons and Pete Johnson, you know, and Meade Lux Lewis, who was kind of heavy on the hand. So I went behind Albert Ammons and Pete Johnson.
But you made another boogie woogie song. What was that? The Blues and the Boogie?
Blues and the Boogie. Well, no, that was a saxophone
What do you
solo.
mean?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of put out.
Uh-huh.
There's a guy playing the blues on a saxophone, don't even like
Uh-huh.
saxophones, and I'm playing the piano.
Right, right. Uh-huh.
But that was on the other side or the flip side of swinging the boogie.
Uh-huh.
So this
Tell
man-
me the days at the $1 Million Theater downtown in L.A. That must have been great those days.
It was wonderful.
Great stars must have been down there. All
They were
those
great.
entertainers. You must have seen a lot of great ones.
I did.
Who?
I was back there. I got the engagement when I was backstage with Lionel Hampton. And Lionel Hampton, I don't know, he knew, yes, he had heard that I was coming out on boogies. The boogies that I was making was going very well. And he just by sheer mistake or sheer nerve called me out on the stage, and I didn't know he was going to do that.
He called you.
He called me.
You were backstage.
Yes, standing almost on stage behind the curtain. You
Right,
know.
right.
And I went to the piano and played a boogie. The band fell in behind me. And from that, I had a 1-week engagement with Charlie Barnett.
Ooh, that
Yeah.
must have been great.
It was fine.
The movie. You grew up here in Hollywood. Did you ever thought that you would be in a film?
No.
Hannah Brooks never knew you wanted to be in show business. Here you are now in one of the great movies with Lana Turner, Kirk Douglas, The Bad and the Beautiful.
Bad and the Beautiful.
Oh, what a
Benny
movie.
Goodman suggested me first with Out of the Blue with George Brent and Anne Dvorak. And that was an English production. After that, it was with the wonderful Humphrey Bogart.
The other one was called,
Which one?
with Humphrey Bogart. That
It was called In a Lonely Place.
In a Lonely Place.
In a Lonely Place.
Who was in that? Humphrey and who else?
Humphrey and, well, Nicholas Ray directed it,
Yes.
and Gloria Graham,
Great actress.
and, Frank Lovejoy was in it. And, but I couldn't hardly get to know any of those people because...
You didn't get to know Humphrey Bogart?
Oh, Humphrey Bogart wouldn't let me alone. I mean...
What do you mean, Hannah Brooks alone, right?
Yeah, well, he said when the director said cut, Humphrey would make it over to where we were. We'd talk, we'd talk, we'd talk, and we'd talk.
What do you talked about, Hannah? Share something.
Well,
What do you said?
Humphrey would tell me about his houseboy.
His houseboy.
Yeah, who was in motion pictures also. His
Okay.
name was Fred Clark. And,
Fred Clark, the
yeah, well, Fred Clark...
the bald-headed guy. Fred Clark, the actor,
wasn't-
character actor. Wasn't that the one?
I don't
Okay,
know.
go ahead.
He, Humphrey Bogart invited me over for breakfast. Don't know
Right.
where Baby was. And we were sitting in the kitchen waiting for Clark to come out and fix our breakfast, and he came out and he had an English accent. And he says, "I'm very sorry, master, but I can't fix your breakfast this morning. I'm due on the set at 6.
The Fred Clark did.
That's right.
That's the wrong Fred Clark.
That's
Go ahead.
right.
Okay, go
no,
ahead.
he was what I might say a mixture. He was black, but he had I guess he had an English accent because he was born over there.
Right, of course.
And then he would tell me that Fred Clark ruined his car. He ran into a wall to keep from hitting a dog. And it was so much about Fred Clark. I think he just adored the man. He liked him very much. He was very, very, very up on him, you know.
Lana Turner. Working with Kirk Douglas, Lana Turner, The Bad and the Beautiful. That became a great big movie.
It was a big
A
deal.
classic movie.
The
But your song in that film. Tell
my
me
song in that film is "There I Am and There I Went."
What's that all? How's that?
That
go?
was all about because when I went to the audition, Vincent Minnelli directed it.
Right, right.
And he asked me to do Temptation. I didn't like Temptation.
You don't like Temptation?
No, I told him during the audition, I said, I don't like Temptation.
Sounds like a strip number, doesn't it?
Just to
Temptation?
me, you know, you came, I was alone.
Yeah, right.
da-da-da-da. And then he said, well, what do you do? And I said, I do something like, why was I born? And don't take your love from me. He said, well, do a little bit of it. And I did something. And then he put the music of Temptation in front of me.
Right.
And I made out. He had 2 other girls there that put the top up, and they played it very classically and beautifully. They played it.
So you had auditioned for this?
I auditioned for it.
Okay.
And so then I sang Don't Blame Me. And then he put the music of Temptation up in front of me, and I read it, and I said, da-dum, da-da-da-dum, Da 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 da. Da 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 da. I didn't want to play it. But he said, okay. He told me to go over and make out the requisite for my pay for the audition. And then when I was making out the requisite, he would come over and he told it was my representative at the time. He said, when is she available?
Great.
But when I got on the set, these two girls were there. And I was late because they hadn't told me what they're going to do. I wasn't negotiating any kind of a contract. I didn't know exactly
Was
how
it
it worked.
MGM? MGM? Was this at MGM or Universal?
MGM.
MGM. Okay.
MGM.
Yeah.
And I didn't, nobody talked to me about where to be, what to do, and this and that and the other. So I didn't show. So he sent another representative. I was working at Jimmy Dolan's at the
Jimmy
time, where it
Dolan's.
is now, what is it, Spago's? Or
Spago's,
yes,
right.
Which is now,
out on Sunset.
That was a beautiful place. And
That was a hot spot those days.
it was.
We'll get back
it
to
was,
that. Go
yeah,
ahead.
Okay. And they sent another representative to me. They said, be on set tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And I looked at him and I said, how much are they going to pay me? He told me. I said, okay, I'll be there. I came in, and Vince Minnelli says, I have gone through hell to try to find you. So, I mean, like, I think he got just a little bit of revenge. He made me stay while everybody went to lunch. He had a man come out to teach me temptation.
To teach Hadda Brooks Temptation. I love it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And I went behind the man, and I did the rhythm that he had put it in. And by the time I had finished, it was Here I Am, and There I Went. So I didn't sing that much of it. In the Humphrey Bogart picture, I sang the whole thing.
You sang the whole thing with Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart loves those singers at the piano, didn't he? In all his movies, a lot of his films had that.
That he had
Sam and all that.
Sam
yeah.
and
all that. And Hadda Brooks in one of them, too, baby.
Right.
Hadda Brooks, tell me about this club you were by Spago's. What was it called?
Jimmy Dolan's.
Jimmy Dolan's. Tell me about that. Was a great
It was
room.
up on the hill.
A lot of stars used to come there.
A lot of stars came there.
I understand
and,
Elizabeth Scott used to come all
she
the
used
time.
to come all the time.
Tell me about that.
She brought me a bottle of perfume. And she seemed to like me very, very much. And Bobby Short was there at one time. And also Bobby, he married...
Bobby Darin?
No.
That's a long time. Bobby Darin's
Jack Webb's former wife.
No, okay.
The one that sang Cry Me a River, but anyway.
Johnny Ray? Oh, Cry Me a River.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
Julie
London.
Julie London.
Julie
yeah.
London. And Bobby, his name was Bobby. He played with me, played for me.
Right.
To do 2 or 3 songs standing. And then he would get up and I would go to the piano. Which made a nice little show and a nice little start.
You know what I love about Hadda Brooks? You're at the piano, but all of a sudden, you're walking around. And there's no
piano.
No piano.
Yeah.
Hadda Brooks, where did that come from? Come on, tell me about that. Tell me the evening that arrived in Hadda Brooks' life. I want to know.
I got miffed. And someone was talking.
Go ahead.
And I didn't think that they were paying enough attention, so I got right up and walked to them. I'm over here now.
Right. Right there.
Not over there.
That's right.
And I'm going to sing to you. I didn't say this, but my attitude showed it. You're going to listen. So from then on...
It worked.
It worked.
It worked.
I did it a lot. I did it a lot.
It works. Because people in clubs are talking.
They were.
Yeah. Because you're at the piano and sometimes... That's a very clever idea.
I did, and I do.
You know,
I still do it.
When I used to perform, Hadda, I still perform, but when I used to perform, I used to do the same thing. I run around the room and jump on tables and things and get their attention. Very clever.
Well, yes.
It works.
It works.
Yeah.
Because, as I said,
but
I was
difficult
thinking of,
for you because you got the piano there and you're leaving that piano.
Heavens to Betsy and heavens to good sakes that I kept a tune in my head.
Right.
And the tone. You know,
it's
so
difficult.
that I could go back and hit the same key that I started out in and end up in that same key.
Right.
And as I remembered, Willie Covan says, move around and they'll follow you.
That's right.
But if you sit still, they'll go to sleep.
How were the audience back those days in comparing today's audiences?
They were.
You just said the word. Oh. Go ahead.
They were rude.
Yeah, go ahead.
They were very. Some of them were rude. Very rude.
But the club scene.
They wanted to be seen instead of listen. You know.
The club scene those days back must have been great.
It was.
Wasn't it great?
It was. It was. I loved it. I loved the club scenes.
Yes.
It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. I mean, I had a piano, and they had put an extended top on it so that maybe 15 or 20 people could sit around.
Right, right.
And they were right in my face,
yes,
of course, naturally.
Of course.
And they start talking, and I said, well, I think I'll go to the bar. And do just exactly what you're doing.
That's right.
Have a drink, and when I finish, I'll come back. Now, you can talk all you want to while I'm gone.
That's a great gimmick. Great gimmick.
So I would do that, and I'd come back. Well, see, I mean, it was unbelievable to a certain extent.
People have never seen this before.
People didn't believe that,
No.
that anybody would get up and walk away and go to the bar and have a drink.
Right.
You know.
Right. Absolutely.
And at that particular time when I got up and walked away, I might have needed one. No, I went to Europe. It didn't happen that way.
How about in Europe? Working in Europe. It doesn't happen that way.
It didn't happen that way.
But you still walk around, though.
I walked around. I walked around, except at the club in Australia. It seated 800 people. It was so big. I was almost walking a block to get to the piano.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But everybody was just cut and quiet.
Did you do the RSL clubs in Australia, Sydney, and all Melbourne?
I did Sydney.
Yeah, I love it.
And Melbourne. I did most of my clubs, my shows in Melbourne.
Melbourne.
At the club at the Embers.
That's the sophisticated area.
Yes, it's a quite. Well, I would say sedate and staid.
It's Bostonian. Melbourne is considered Bostonian. Anyway, first black performer ever had her own television show, half-hour show. Hadda Brooks sitting here. Tell me about it. I mean, even before Nat King Cole.
Oh, yes.
Before Nat King Cole, you were the first black performer ever had her television show. That must have been a great feeling to open the doors.
It was. I mean, they called me at this particular station to do 11 to 11:30 show.
What a time.
Just to, I'm looking at a wall, Skippy.
Right.
Singing.
That's not Hadda Brooks.
No.
You're looking.
But they did twice to me, you know. I mean, this is radio, you know, at 11 to 11:30.
Right.
And then I think maybe they got a lot of calls about that. And Don Feddersen, who was producing my show, came to me and asked me, did I want to do a television show?
Right. This is for KTLA, Channel 13.
That was the first.
Yeah.
It's now changed, but I mean, I was KTLA Channel 13,
right.
yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I said, sure. And it was very successful.
You did 26 weeks.
That's right.
Then you went on the road with your show.
That's right.
People got to know Hadda Brooks from television.
That's right.
But it was difficult for you just to camera, but not really. It's like Liberace did it too, you know.
Yes.
You're a performer, Hadda Brooks. You can do it. When you're working nightclubs, I believe when a performer works nightclubs, they can go do anything.
Anything they want.
Anything they want. Why is that, do you think?
Well, I mean,
Why?
well, because we're so extrovert. we're just out there. We like what we're doing, but then sometimes we hold ourselves back, but not long. But we want to get out. We want to do this. We like the people.
Right.
And we want them to like us.
Of course.
And so we go sometimes out of our way.
Right.
Sort of puts you off edge, but I mean, you go out of your way.
Right. Billy Burke, the club here in Hollywood. A lot of stars worked it. Frankie Lane, Shecky, they all worked it.
Yes.
Billy Burke, tell me about that club in Hollywood.
Slim and Slam. I used to go there.
Yeah, tell me about that club.
I used to go there, and I hadn't really, when I used to go there, I hadn't really done any clubs. I think that's what fascinated me.
Yes, fascinated to watch.
It really fascinated me.
And you watched Frankie Lane one night, and you heard a song.
Yes.
That's My Desire, which you recorded.
That's right.
And the big hit.
I loved it. I went to a secondhand store right off of Cohanga and got the sheet music, and it was 50 years old, that song.
Before that, really?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
It had one of those old-fashioned covers, you know, like the woman with the cloche hat, the long cigarette holder, and the fur, and the tight dress coming hanging all the way down her ankles and whatnot. And it was 50 years old, and I wanted to record it. After Charlie Barnett told me, after you do 3 boogies and you get an encore, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do another boogie. He said, why don't you sing? And I said, I can't. He said, well, fake it. And I did. But I did one tune before, That's My Desire, for the audience, the next show.
Right.
And then the next recording that I did was That's My Desire. Of course, I knew, I didn't ask Frank's permission. No.
You didn't ask him?
No.
But he didn't record it then?
He recorded it.
After?
After I did it.
Yes, that's what I mean. But you first recorded it.
I recorded it first.
First. Yeah. But Frankie's... Why do you think that became such a hit with Frankie Lane? The gimmick, the simic?
Well, I mean...
It was a hit for you, too.
It was a hit for me, but his voice had a lot to do with it, and his rendition of it had a lot to do with it.
Yes.
Because, you see, he did it almost every night in his show.
Yes, I see. The audience, yeah.
And I just fell for it.
Etta Brooks, this is the song that you did record first. That's My Desire.
Right.
This is it. Look at this. This is your first album, right? The songs.
Vocally of songs, yes.
Yeah. And now you got a new one out. Anytime, any place, anywhere. Ooh, that sounds like me, honey. Anytime, any place, and anywhere, girl. Call me up.
That's a CD.
I love this, Etta. This is great. The songs are great. What's some of the songs in this?
Well, now, wait a minute.
Wow, you got any place, anytime, anywhere. That's My Desire. You got all those songs, aren't you? Oh, God, you got them all here, girl. The Foggy Day.
Yeah, Foggy Day.
I love your rendition of
Old
Foggy
Man
Day.
River.
Old Man River. Your rendition of Old Man River and Foggy Days is so good, Etta. It's so good.
Thank you. I have a new one coming out.
Yes, what is it?
It's called Time Was When.
Time When?
Time Was When.
Time Was When.
It'll be out sometime after the picture.
But you know, Etta Brooks, look at this. Detour magazine, this month's magazine. Look at this. Look at you here. They gave you 2 pages. Look how, I love this picture. This is a great picture of us.
Surprised me. That surprised me.
The picture is fabulous. Etta Brooks, the article. These young kids. You're in with all these rock stars in here. Etta Brooks, how do you feel about this?
I feel
this is
wonderful.
90. This is 96, darling.
That's right.
Look at this, Etta Brooks.
And this is 50 years of show
50 years of show business. Right. 50 years. Looking back, Etta Brooks, had a good time?
Had a ball. Had more fun. I traveled in Europe with the Harlem Globetrotters. I had a ball, too, there.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm. Had loads of fun. I liked it. I semi-retired, though, and then came back.
Yeah, you did. I remember. I was the first one interviewed you when I first came back from Vietnam. When I first came back in the 70s, when I started doing my television show, I had Etta Brooks on.
That's right.
Alan Eichler brought you to me, and you were retired. What happened, Etta? Tell me.
I become sort of disillusioned with audiences, truthfully speaking. And I just said,
what do you mean, just disillusioned with audiences?
Well, I mean, I just couldn't understand their talking.
In the audience?
In the audience. And when I came back from Europe, after I was so beautifully received,
right,
I couldn't understand
why this so rude.
Country, why this was so rude. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I just stopped. I didn't stop performing because I wouldn't stay home. I'd go out, and they'd call on me, and I'd do 2 or 3 tunes. I mean, you know.
But you really didn't have your heart into it.
I didn't want to.
So they hurt you.
They did. They hurt me very much. It was my own country. They hurt me.
Why didn't you go back to Europe? Why remain in this country? You did go.
I did go back.
Where did you go?
I went to England. I went back to Australia.
Have you gone to France, Paris?
Yes, I did, when I was with the Harlem Globetrotters.
You did?
Yes.
They must have loved you there.
They would absolutely...
The French audiences are great.
They're great.
Wonderful.
Germany.
Germany's wonderful.
Yes.
Oh, speaking Deutsch. Deutschland. Guten Abend.
Singing I Can't Give You Anything But Love 4 times because we were performing in the outdoor arena, if you want to call it that. I mean, they'd have the bullfights in the afternoon, and then the Harlem Globetrotters would play at night, you know. And in Spain, and they couldn't see me all the way around, so I had to sing I Can't Give Anything But Love to that side, Can't Give Anything But Love 4 times, so that the audience could get the full.
It's difficult when you're playing the piano and when you're working a big arena.
Yes.
It's very difficult.
But this was to the accompaniment of what do you call the squeeze box?
Yes, accordion.
Accordion, that's right. One of the guys on halftime, he played the accordion. He was very, very classical, and he was very, very good. And he played I Can't Give You Anything But Love for me. Because when I did the Wimbledon Stadium in England for Princess Margaret and the Queen, the place was so big, they rolled my baby grand piano out. And I was, the place is so enormous.
So Hatta Brooks had this, you respected all over the world, and then you returned to country. They were noisy out there, clubs, so, hey, I don't need this. Forget it. I'm getting out of here. Is that what happened?
It happened to me that way.
But you got back. Who decided to bring you back? Was it Alan Eichler?
Alan Eichler.
He's the one.
Yes.
He helps a lot. That's Eartha Kitt. He helps all these great
helps a lot of people.
Laverne Baker.
Laverne Baker.
Oh, God, she's wonderful. She's in town right now.
Yes, I
She's at the Roosevelt. She's wonderful.
Wonderful.
Lady is great. as ever.
Beautiful. Lots and lots of admiration I have for her.
What has been the hardest for Hatta Brooks in life?
Oh, I had no pain.
You have no pain?
I haven't had any pain.
You haven't had any pain.
I've just mentioned the pain that I did have.
Yes, so that's...
Outside of that, there is no pain.
So you have no regrets about anything?
No. I have no regrets. I've been inducted into the Hall of Fame.
That's right. You just got, I was going to bring that up.
Oh, were you?
You just got inducted to the Hall of Fame for Rhythm and Blues.
The Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame,
Hall
under
of
the
Fame.
category of Pioneer.
I think it's great, Hatta. Congratulations,
So
matter of
thank you
fact.
very much. It was so
Congratulations.
electrifying, though. It was very funny.
All these years, how does it feel? You mean you wait and wait, and all of a sudden this happens to you?
The recognition came.
Yeah. If you wait there, and it's there.
Well, I imagine somebody thought of me. The fellow upstairs thought of me. Quite a
Do you
few
believe
other
in
people.
Do you believe in faith?
Well, yes.
Do you believe in faith?
I believe in faith.